Hey guys, Devoto here. So yesterday I helped out someone who was trying to follow my build on YouTube and he was running into some problems. He kind of got some of the progression mixed up. His itemization wasn't the best and things like that. But I basically spent 3 hours on Discord helping him buy items and crafting gear for him, and by the end of it, his build was a monster. So I did notice in working with him that, other people could be having similar problems trying to follow my build. Probably one of the reasons for that is I've posted several different PoBs. I apologize for that. I just don't have a lot of free time. I'm going to try to have a more consolidated, PoB that I can present in the future. And I'll be updating the PoBs also today with the release of this video. So let's go over things that I want to talk about regarding this build that other people could run into problems with. And this is probably a good video to watch if you're a newer player to Path of Exile, because I'm going to cover things that are pretty important and how to buy certain items, okay? And things that just are not obvious about this build and weren't obvious to him, and he kind of fell into some traps because they weren't obvious to him. So let me cover everything that could be a possible pitfall, and hopefully it'll help you guys out if you're having problems with this build, because honestly, I don't think you should. So let's go over everything. So I have several tabs open. So let's start with first this. So people get confused by this. I didn't mean this purposely, but when they're looking at my PoBs, they're like, you have Vaal Molten Shell checked, you're faking it, you're not having that effective hit points. Let me explain it to you. It just checks this automatically when you import it. Of note, these don't stack within PoB, okay? So you can either have Molten Shell or Vaal Molten Shell. So let's just have Vaal Molten Shell on here. All right, no, let's just do regular Molten Shell. Okay, so let me explain how I basically have 100% uptime on Molten Shell. So one, I'm using Vaal Molten Shell. I'm not using Vaal Smite, okay? Please don't use Vaal Smite with this build. Just use a level 21-20 Smite. I'll explain more in a minute. But you really do want to use the Vaal Molten Shell because it's really nice to have Molten Shell up the entire time. You add it with duration, and you get a little extra cooldown from Second Wind on there as well. And you can basically cycle it the entire time. So if you watch my video, I have this MTX on my Molten Shell because it's thematic, of course. But you'll notice these little shields around me most of the time. And I basically juggle between both of these to keep it up almost the entire time. And the character's so tanky now, I don't even need to use it most of the time, but it is nice just to have up as a protection layer, and it keeps your deaths down. So, I have died a few times in this build, but I'm level 97, 96, and what's my deaths? 23 times. So, that's not so bad. And remember, I built this build from scratch. I was tinkering around trying to optimize things, and sometimes things don't work, and I think some of those deaths were because of that. But anyways, so it's a pretty safe build to play. But let's talk about, Smite versus Vaal Smite versus Smite of Divine Judgment, and other reasons why I'm choosing the skill gems I'm choosing and the items that I'm choosing. So again, I suggest just using Vaal Molten Shell. You can get a Vaal Molten Shell with 10% quality. Here, let's go over here. So this is how much a level 21-20 Smite costs. It's probably cheaper than this. These are all on sale for days. Like yesterday, I bought one for 35C for the person I was helping out. You could probably buy them for 30C as well, because again, these guys want to sell them. No one else is buying regular Smites. If you're playing this build, you get to be a special snowflake and buy stuff that's off meta and cheap. So that is an advantage. So I would just suggest this. So one of the reasons why you would want regular Smite is a couple of reasons. One, you don't want the Vaal version because you want to use that for your Molten Shell, so you can keep Molten Shell up 100% of the time. And the other reason is because it does a lot of damage. So you see this attack damage multiplier on here? That's pretty high, okay? Smite has a pretty high attack damage multiplier. It also has something special as well. And when they buffed all the melee gems, what they did to a lot of them is they took off any added flat damage, but they increased their damage multipliers. However, Smite was one of the exceptions to that in that they have this aura here. And this aura is very nice. It's essentially the aura that this gives you stacks with your other Wrath aura that you get. Here is the Wrath aura, if you're just running the regular Wrath aura. This is how much damage this adds to your character, okay? And that is equivalent to this aura that this skill gem gives you as well. On top of that, one of the reasons why I'm using regular Smite over the Smite of Divine Judgment or all that stuff is this. So you're a Paladin, right? And I just think, you know, you get all of these increased effective non-curse auras from your passives. That could be kind of nice. And, you know, if you really want to dump money into this character, you can kind of make it an aura bot, armor stack, or whatever. But I'm trying to keep it budget right now. But you can definitely scale up aura effects on this build and fit in a lot of auras and make it really strong. That is another way that you can take it if you want to do it that way. But I'm not doing it that way because I'm trying to ball on a budget here, guys. All right, so let me talk about some other reasons why I'm running the regular Smite. So I'm running Ancestral Call in this build as well. You don't have to put Ancestral Call in if you don't want to, but I like it. It adds to screen clear, and also, you know, I like running Destructive Play, and, you know, that spawns like 4 different bosses or whatever, right? And Ancestral Call lets me hit basically all the bosses at the same time. And those things can shotgun due to how the regular version of Smite works. That ends up doing a lot of damage, okay? And so that makes it so when I'm doing those boss fight encounters, Ancestral Call actually acts as a damage multiplier and does not lower my damage against those bosses. I end up doing more because I'm shotgunning all of them. So that's one of the reasons why I'm using Ancestral Call. And here's something that I'm very interested in doing, but, you know, I ball on a budget. I'm probably like the poorest content creator on YouTube. I just spent like the last of my divines on buying some of this stuff just for this video. I'll make some more money. It's fine. One of the reasons is I just don't have that much free time to play. But here, let me show you the future tech that I'm planning on implementing in this build once I can get a better rare sword here. I bought this sword for 100C, by the way, guys. So what I'm planning to do is I want to add this, okay? It's only available on one-handed swords. I haven't seen any content creators show this off yet. I think it's going to be really, really fun. So of note, this is plus 2 meters. This isn't plus 0.2 meters. This is plus 2 meters to weapon range. Okay, when I have that on Ancestral Call and the regular version of Smite, especially if like I'm doing the Feared or some really fun boss, you know, boss encounter like that, when I'm fighting multiple bosses and they're all over the arena or screen, like I'm gonna be able to like strike people that are over here or over there, and it's gonna be really fun, and that's what I want to do. That's why I'm not running like a fancy unique sword that costs 10 times the amount that this sword cost. Okay, guys. So anyways, that's another reason why I'm using the regular version of Smite. Another reason is this. You know, I talked about, you know, the built-in added damage from the Wrath Aura on Smite and the high damage multiplier in the regular version of Smite and how you can shotgun with Smite with Ancestral Call. But here's another reason why I'm using the regular version of Smite. These gloves add plus 3 levels to all of your melee skill gems. As you can see, my Smite is level 24, it has a damage multiplier of 568. It also adds on top of that up to 302 added lightning damage, and that's on top of the other Wrath Aura that I'll be getting from my Elemental Relics from the Paladin. And that's just a lot of added flat lightning damage to the build on top of that very high damage multiplier. So that's the reason why you're running regular Smite. A, it's cheaper. B, it does more damage. It's really good for shotgunning. Once you get a nice rare sword, you can put an expensive runecraft on it and basically strike the entire screen. That's the long-term plan. I haven't built up enough currency yet. I mean, I still haven't even done all my void stones yet, guys. So I apologize for being slow. It just is what it is. But let's talk about some more stuff that I think you guys should know. So again, the final version of the build does implement essentially the Admiral's Arrogance, the Perseverance Belt, and the Slavin Shield. I'm always going to mispronounce that, so I'll just say Slavin for this entire video, all right, guys? And this is kind of the tech that you'll be running, or at least the unique items you're going to be running on this build. Another unique item that you'll be running on this build, and this trips people up, is the Sap of the Seasons. At least it tripped up the person that I helped yesterday. So why am I running Sap of the Seasons? No one like runs this. Why am I running it? Well, A, because no one's running it, it's cheap and it's off meta. Let me tell you why this is actually really good. So it's really good because you can get a really high increased cooldown recovery rate and a really good reduced mana burn rate, okay? You normally can't get that on a regular rare prismatic tincture. So what you'd want to do when searching for this thing is, let's see where it is, because I have all these things up ready for this video here. Also have links to all of these Path of Exile trade URLs in the video description and comments. So if you're following this build, you can use these URLs or these links to easily search for items to buy for this build, okay? So anyways, this is you want to get a prismatic, this Sap of the Seasons, and I would suggest this is the filter. Again, you just click the link and I'll already have this pre-populated, ready to go, so you can do the search for yourself. So reduce mana burn rate, I'd say just put it to 30, okay? Do search, and then what you want to do is, I would go this. So increase cooldown recovery rate. So this one's 60C. So some people realize, hey, like the value of this item, and a lot of people don't though. So you can buy this one for 20C. You can buy this one for 20C. These are actually, it's usually more, so you can buy this one for 10C. This one for 10C. You can basically get an insane increased cooldown recovery rate and an insane reduced mana burn rate on this thing. And so what that means is that you can keep it on quite often through almost an entire boss fight. And then when it goes off, it can basically recycle within, 5.5 seconds or something like that. So with quality, mine cycles, I can cycle mine every 5.5 seconds, and I only get a mana burn tick over every second. So it lasts for a while, okay guys? So that's what you want to, that's why I'm using this item, and that's what you don't want to get one with increased mana burn rate. Don't get one with increased mana burn rate, okay? And the mana burn is the most important thing, I would say, and just try to get like the cheapest one you can find with a good reduced mana burn rate and a good recovery, okay? You should probably get one for about 10C. As you can see, there's a decent amount up here at 10C, and they have not sold. I actually bought mine. This is a really good one for 1C. Okay, guys? So I'm just giving... Anyways, let's talk about more things that you should know. All right, so let's talk about more item acquisitions. Decoy totems. I would suggest getting a level 21/20 decoy totem. They're really cheap. This might be one of your first investments. Decoy totems are very, very strong, especially during the campaign, especially paired with Vitality. You will be using Vitality during the campaign. Let's see who's talking to me. Oh, I don't care about that. So you will be using Vitality during the campaign. You'll notice that it's very hard for monsters to kill your decoy totems. But let me talk to you about some other tech that's incorporated in this build that's not obvious to people. So you got your decoy totems, right? And those decoy totems, they're pretty effective now. They kind of changed them like last patch or the patch before. And when you drop them, like monsters actually attack them. They actually get aggro, and they can actually survive kind of long, especially when they're on consecrated ground, okay? So you'll notice that I'm not running the Flask's field medicine that a lot of other paladins are running. I'm running Anointed Champion for the consecrated ground. Why am I doing that? Okay? Well, the reason I'm doing that is because consecrated ground is nice. It gives you 5% life regen per second. And anything on it also, anything friendly on it also gets 5%, and also reduces curse effectiveness. So it makes it easier to be curse immune on your character. But here's also the really nice thing. If you have consecrated ground and your decoy totem is on it, your decoy totem will heal faster than most monsters can kill it. You'll notice that if I'm like fighting a Delirium Beyond boss, I drop a decoy totem, and I kind of sit next to the decoy totem, and the Beyond boss just sits and wails on the decoy totem and has problems even killing it. Okay, so that's one of the reasons. The other reason is because you have elemental relics in this build. So people have complained about, oh, it's so hard to keep these things up and they always die. Well, A, you got to make sure you attack fast with the build, and B, they die less when they're on consecrated ground. Okay, so that's another reason why taking consecrated ground is synergistic with this build. Another cool tech about totems that might not be obvious to people, and I'll show this off when I actually have progressed my character enough to do this, to make it look cool on video. But I'm gonna kill Uber Searing Exarch. I'm gonna kill Uber Exarch. And during the Magma Ball phase, when he throws Magma Balls at you, you can drop a totem, and the Magma Balls will hit the totem and blow up the Magma Ball, okay? And it's really nice. I would actually, on On that phase, also what you can do is you can use Holy Flame totems with multiple totem support and kind of like cover the area around you and protect yourself against the magma balls. You don't want to like be a G and jump around, okay? So that's just another reason, that's just something that's not obvious about totems to people. You'll also notice in the gameplay footage that I drop totems a lot. That's because Decoy Totem is very strong, especially paired with Consecrated Ground, and in subtle ways it will always save your ass. Although this character is always tanky. It's just another level of tank and protection on top of all of the other levels of tank and protection this build incorporates. All right, what else? Let's go back to this thing right here. So let's talk about how you get your jewels for this build. So I just bought 2 of these today because I bought these for the person I helped out yesterday. I tried to record the entire thing, but the recording didn't work. It would have been a great recording for people to watch, but whatever, nothing's perfect. So I kind of have to redo everything today, and that's what this video is about. So you're gonna wanna get Fractured Critical Strike Multiplier with one-handed melee weapons. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna use Harvest Crafting. Okay, like this, and you go to life. And you go like this, and you go weep, weep. See, that's all right, okay? That's kind of good too. There you go. So, and you know, then now from there you can just like slam an Exalted Orb on it or something. But that's how you can easily make your own high quality jewels for the late game version of this build. Also, what I would suggest in the earlier game versions of this build is get this fracture. Because if you buy jewels naturally without, spell block chance or regular block chance, sometimes they can actually get expensive. So what I would suggest doing is just get the fracture. And this is before you switch over to crit, because like right now I don't need any more spell block. I'm over capped on spell block, and I actually, let's see. So for example, I'm still using one of my old jewels here in the build, and you know what I'm going to plan to do is just put this one in. Okay, so that's already an upgrade to my build right there. All right, and you know I'm losing the curse effectiveness, but I bought another Thread of the Hope today. I bought this for less than 2 divs, and this is going to make up for the curse effectiveness reduction I'm losing from here, and it's going to give me a little bit of ignite duration reduction as well, which is nice because this build is not ignite immune, but I don't really care too much about ignite. So just to be clear, what you're immune to and what you're not immune to. So you're basically, by default, you're basically half immune to curses with your Consecrated Ground, okay? You're immune to shock because of your Tempest Shield right here, okay? And you're also immune to freeze because of your Arctic Armor. And also what you should do is be immune to chill. And how you're immune to chill is you just buy some boots with a fat stack of life and resistances with armor and evasion, and then with an open prefix, and you slap this benchcraft on. This benchcraft is obtained by doing Syndicate, basically Jun missions, and you'll find it here. Of course, I think that took off all my auras, whatever. And it's chill. It's right there. Okay, so that's how you can get this yourself. And now you're also immune to chill. So now you're immune to most elements that matter. You're not fully immune to ignite, and you're not fully immune to curses. So what I would suggest is when you're doing gems, try to get gems with ignite, duration reduction, and reduce effective curse, just so you're also curse immune and you're mostly ignite immune by the time you're done with the build. So let's go back to some more of the trade filters here. So we talked about, how to make jewels. So these fractures are great to get. You can get a life fracture. The problem is life fractures are like 100C. So I'd rather pay 20C to get a critical strike multiplier with one-handed melee weapons as a fracture, and then, get some life on it that way by slam it with a Harvest Craft a few times, as you saw in the video a few minutes ago. So that's just a way to save money and get yourself some good gems that you can kind of upgrade and craft yourself. Another fixes that you can look for as fractures that are relatively cheap are chaos resistance, okay? So if you need chaos resistance in your build, I'm currently overcapped, but if you need it, this is something else that you can look for as well. Like, how is this thing selling? Whatever. And you can get, you can just Harvest Craft it or whatever to kind of get some of the supplementary stats that you need. And again, I will have links for all of these trade filters in the comments. Okay, we talked about the prismatic tincture and what you should be searching for. Again, do not get one with increased mana burn rate. The guy that helped yesterday got one with increased mana burn rate. The reason why I'm using this is for the baked in reduced mana burn rate and baked in cooldown recovery. This way I don't have to invest in any type of tincture skill points on the passive tree. Okay, let's talk about this Thread of Hope. This is the Thread of Hope that you'll be implementing in the build once you have a little bit of money, okay? And you're going to be using it the bottom of the tree to get these different skill points, or these notables, okay? At the beginning of the build, while you're still earning currency and you're progressing, you have this as your anoint because it's super cheap and it gives you endurance charges on kill. This build can get endurance charges whenever it wants by using a war cry, enduring cry right here. But that's annoying to do throughout the entire map, and I just like, killing monsters and getting endurance charges is nice. I don't want to, I really only want to really use this on bosses or notable monsters that I'm fighting because it's an extra button press and you kind of have to sit there for a second to use the war cry. So getting endurance charges on kills is very, very nice. And but this is the first anointment that you're going to get. But as you progress the build, you're going to switch it to a different anointment, and it's going to be Safeguard. Why are you using Safeguard? And also, how does that relate to what's down here? Okay, so one, we now have Disciple of Unyielding, so we don't need the endurance charges on kills from this anointment anymore. Okay. So that's one thing. It's also nice. You get another source of frenzy charges on kill along with your blood rage. But you also have this, right? Tessuto. And now you get life on block, which adds a bunch of effective EHP to your character. And then also, because you're no longer pathing over here to get the leech masteries or pathing up here to get the leech masteries, you want a way to increase the amount of leech you get. And that's where this comes into play. So that's nice as well. So where are you getting leech now is you're getting leech from the jewels, okay? And I have trade filters for these jewels as well. But you got Feed the Fury and you got Fuel the Fight. And we'll talk about these jewels in a second, okay? But that's where you're getting your life and mana leech from right now. But this will improve the leech as well. So with this, plus this over here, you have both energy shield on block and life on block with this build. You also have 90% spell block and 90% regular block on this build. I know it looks lower here, but I don't have I don't have this on yet. Here, that looks better. But this is a lucky block, and that translates to essentially 90% chance to block, okay? So, and whenever you block, you get both energy shield and life back. I purposely got an amulet with a little bit of energy shield. You want a little bit of energy shield in this build once you get your Slavin and once you get Safeguard. Because if you don't have energy shield on your build, you're going to be missing out on a lot of effective EHP. You'll notice in the gameplay footage that I'll be releasing and have released that you'll see my energy shield jump in the middle of fights when I'm getting hit by spells, and that's because of Safeguard. It adds a bunch of effective hit points to your character. So that's just that's some tech to keep in mind. The dude that I helped yesterday, a lot of his gear was pretty bad, and we were just looking for a helmet for him that was cheap and we can slot in the build. Ideally, you're going to want to be using a rare helm. That has life on it and resistances, and ideally an open prefix so you can get more strike range of your character. I was talking about how important strike range was and how I want to get that special runecraft. That's an expensive one, and you'd only want to slap it on a very, very nice foil to give +2 melee strike range. Not plus, 0-2, but +2, which is going to be nuts. I really, really want to test that out. But strike range is nice for this build. Like there's a lot of quality of life to these passive skills right here, but unfortunately, like later on, it's hard to fit these in when you're fitting everything else in. But those that have played this build and have progressed, I think you'll notice like, hey, this is kind of nice to be able to strike so far away. So let's go talk about some more stuff. Oh yeah, so we're talking about the helmet, right? So this is a helmet that I would suggest you use on this build if you're starting out and you want chaos resistance and a big fat stack of armor and evasion, and it gives you dexterity as well, and that translates also to accuracy and spell suppress for certain versions of this build depending on the pathing on the tree. So if you're still up here, you get the spell suppress from this. That's a dexterity right there, and I don't have the most amount of dexterity right now in this build. I only have 287, but a lot of people might be easily getting 380-ish or whatever dexterity in this build at certain points in the build's life cycle. And if that's the case, then you'd want to get the Mastery Dexterity Accuracy bonus. Instead, grants +3 to accuracy rating per dexterity. And, again, that's, so if you have 60 dexterity on this, that's 60 times 3, I guess. And that's, it's a lot of extra accuracy, especially if you're still running the precise technique version of this build and haven't switched over to crit yet. So my point is this: get a Devoto's. If you're looking for a hat and you don't want to think too much about it, and you don't have a bunch of money to buy a hat. To be honest, like this hat didn't actually cost that much. I think it cost like a div or something. But one of the reasons why I'm using this is because I can slam Eldritch Implicits on it and get those sweet mana reservation implicit, and that also area effect helps a little bit as well. So that's just something to be mindful of. Think about getting a Devoto's if you need chaos resistance and these stats here. Now, we talked about Admiral's Arrogance. This is what's important. You won't definitely want to get +3 to melee skill gems. That's the most important thing when you're looking for your own Admiral's Arrogance, okay? Because again, I talked about how useful it is to increase the level of your Smite because it has such a high damage multiplier and it adds extra flat damage on top of that, which is pretty unique for melee skills right now, okay? So this is what you're looking for. I would suggest probably around 14 rage on hit, but you can play around with that. These are about 1 div, and if they've been up for a while, you might be able to get them cheaper. But that's what you're looking for. Higher attack speed's nice, but whatever. Like mine isn't great. I think I paid like 1.4 for mine or something a little while ago. But this is kind of what you're looking for your gloves. Once you get more currency, you can get like a corrupted version of these or whatever. But again, if you get a corrupted version of these, even if they have something nice like an implicit that gives like flat crit or a frenzy charge or whatever, don't buy it unless it gives you +3 to all your melee skill gems. All right, let's talk about this belt. When you're searching for this belt, please just get one with the max amount of life on it and a good resist roll. It's not going to cost you that much, okay? So don't get one for 1C that has like 4% life. Don't cheap out. Just pay like 6 more C to get one with more like a decent cold resistance roll. It doesn't have to be max, but definitely get the 8% life, okay? So that's important about this belt. Another thing about this belt is you're going to want to use Blessed Orbs to get a max roll implicit, 320, and then you're going to get Catalyst to slam on top of it because that's going to give you a nice stack of armor and evasion. Don't get a corrupted version of these, even if it looks pretty. Just get the regular old basic version of it like Devoto has, okay? And then put the Catalyst on. The Catalyst you're going to get on it is, what is this called? Currency exchange. Defense. It's going to be this, Temper and Catalyst, all right? You're going to slam this sucker on there, all right? Next. This. All right, what's this? All right, let's talk about those cluster jewels that I have in this build. So once you get a little bit of money and you're ready to progress this build, and this is after essentially you turn it to crit usually. It just depends on like the item acquisitions and things you have in your currency that you have. But at some point in this build, you're going to implement those 2 cluster jewels. And so this is one of them. Here's the filter that I have. What's important is you get Fuel the Fight and Prodigious Defense, okay? Smite the Weak is usually the cheapest version, so we're going to search for this first. Okay, so these are like all like 1 div, okay? So that's how much those cost. So let's uncheck Smite of the Week and let's see if we can get it cheaper with Heavy Hitter, okay? And it's 1 div there. And then also, not that you'll be using it, but you can depending on the amount of extra skill points you have and your pathing and blah, blah, blah. Martial Prowess is actually useful for this build. So let's see how much it costs with the Martial Prowess. It's usually more expensive with Martial Prowess. So that's just, but it doesn't really matter that much because rarely you're going to be pathing to that 3rd notable anyways. So usually a cheapest version of it is just this, okay? So that's a div right there. In terms of the implicit that you're looking for, like attack speed's really nice. Chaos resistance is nice if you don't have enough. Elemental resistance is nice. You know, if you need more resistances. I just have like a regular version, I think. I just, you know, I don't have that much currency, so I just, you know, balling on a budget, guys. All right, the other cluster that you're gonna get, so Fuel the Fight is mana leech, right? So you need a mana leech source, so that's where you get, that's Fuel the Fight right there. You also need a life leech source, and that's going to be Feed the Fury, okay? Now, these are more expensive. These are usually up to 2, you should be able to get these for 2 divs, okay? It's a little overpriced right now. Let's go any, let's see. Yeah, so you can buy these for 2 divs usually. And if the only ones that you see are above 2 divs, you can like try, hey, will you sell for 2 divs? Because I doubt these guys are gonna actually be able to sell their stuff for, like, I don't think this is gonna sell, okay? So you can try saying, hey, will you sell for 2 divs? And then you can also see if there's a cheaper version. So this one is Smite the Weak, right? So let's see how much it is with Heavy Hitter. It's about the same. Let's see how much it is with Martial Prowess. It's actually cheaper for some weird reason. So yeah, there you go. So you would, if you're searching it for yourself, this is the one you would get. Not only does it actually have the best 3rd notable on there, it's also cheaper than the other 3 options. But check them all and, you know, search for all of them and see which one is the cheapest. Again, this 3rd notable, Martial Prowess, Heavy Hitter, or Smite the Weak, it doesn't really matter that much. Just get the one that's the cheapest. But again, if you can pick and choose, Martial Prowess is usually the best option. So, you know, if you can buy one with Martial Prowess, go for it. Next, let's talk about, are these the same things? What is this? Oh, there's just another like duplicate filter that I made. All right, hey, let's talk about your Watcher's Eye, okay? I bought this essentially this Watcher's Eye for myself. It's currently in my build. I got an upgrade today. Oh, where's my Watcher's Eye? It's right here. I got the like MTX, sweet MTX on it. So this is the Watcher's Eye that I bought for my build initially. You've seen it in the PoBs. I bought this for 25C, okay? What's important about this was the added flat cold damage. And that's the important thing. And that's good with your Hatred as well, because your Hatred aura that you get from your elemental relics, how it works is you need either fizz or cold flat on your build for it to be relatively effective, and getting the extra flat cold from this makes your Hatred aura more effective. That's the plan behind that. But let me talk about some other kind of choice Watcher's Eyes you can look for that are relatively budget. So this is what I bought for myself today. I got it for 2 divs plus 100C, okay? And this is also very nice. This is increased crit chance and flat cold damage with an already 6% max life roll. So that's something that you can get. I have that as one of the, here, where is it? Where's the Watcher's Eye? Boom, 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 here. So is it this? Oh, this is a good one too. So this is this, okay. So they were selling for 3 divs earlier. As you can see, like they were selling for 3 divs and now they're up for 4, but I don't think any of these are gonna sell for 4. So you could offer 3 divs or whatever, you know, if you wanna get these affixes on your Watcher's Eye. So here's a Watcher's Eye that's relatively budget that will treat you right. Here's also a Watcher's Eye that is just straight up budget and will treat you right as well, which is physical damage converted to lightning. And then you also have the flat added cold for hatred. And why that's nice is because, especially if you're still using a Vaal Rebuke, because the Vaal Rebuke has a lot of flat fizz on it, it'll convert that over to lightning along with your smite. And so now you have nearly 100% of your physical damage getting converted over to lightning. So you don't do like lame physical damage. You just do all cool elemental damage. And your shocks will be bigger as well. So this is what I would suggest as your budget Watcher's Eye. So get these two affixes. So you'd want to get this for your budget Watcher's Eye. When you have more money, you can buy this one for 3 divs. All right, what else? Let's talk about Timeless Jewels and what Timeless Jewel you're going to get and how you're going to get it on a budget, okay? So a lot of people, when they buy these Lethal Prides over here, they like getting the crit protection and double damage and stuff. And double damage is useful for this build. I actually have double damage. But in my Watcher's Eye right here on Acuity. But the thing is that, it adds a premium to the cost. So my Lethal Pride was up for 5 divs. It wasn't selling. I offered the guy 4 divs and he sold it to me for 4 divs. So that's how much my Lethal Pride cost. I bought a Lethal Pride for my E-friend yesterday for 100C. And it did what it needed to do to enable the build. So why am I using Lethal Pride? What's the advantage to this? And why do I not care about prioritizing crit protection as any of the affixes or added affixes from the Lethal Pride? And I think it's a big waste of money to do so. Okay? So let's talk. So what you want to do, and how do you even buy these things? Like what's going on? I'm going to have this again linked in the video description and pinned comments. Here is a link for basically a way that you can buy Lethal Prides. So what you're going to go here is you're going to go to this link and you're going to select Lethal Pride. And it doesn't really matter that much for right now. Please select passive skill. I just view the tree. Great. Lethal Pride. Okay. So I guess view the tree. And then what we're going to do is you're going to click this thing right here. And now what you're going to do is you're going to click, let's just click Akoya, enter stats, and we want Intimidate, and we want Rage. Okay? Those are the things that you'll search for. If you have extra money, you can search for double damage, but if you're searching for double damage as well, then expect to pay up to 5 divs for your Lethal Prides instead of less than 1. Okay? Now what you got to do is you got to unclick all the stuff that you won't be pathing to. I guess you could click like deselect, right? Yeah, so let's go this, 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 this. And you can work this in your build, especially if it's nice. If you switch over to Lightning Strike or Molten Strike, when you're, to kill Ubers and stuff, I'm going to stick with Smite the entire time because I want to show off some cool tech with Smite. But, if you really want to go big deeps with this build, and you can, you would just go like Molten Strike or Lightning Strike, and you'd end up getting these two. So that's something you can check as well if you care about that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this either. But you can do this, and you can potentially check that as well. But those are the things that you're going to want to check, okay? Yeah, we don't need that either. And so now what we're going to do is, and then you can just start with Akoya, and then you can work your way down. And how this works, and this is a time-intensive process, and it's freaking annoying, but I'll show it off, okay? So you select these things, you select all of the notables that you'll be pathing to in this area. And again, if you plan to switch over to Molten Strike or Lightning Strike, you can select this one as well. I'm not going to. And then you go search, okay? And there's 4 matches here. We don't care about this match. This is all rage on hit. We don't want rage on hit. We want to mix up. We want 1 chance to intimidate and 1 rage on hit at least, okay? That's what we're looking for. So here's one right here, okay? It also gives life. That's a nice one. Gives some leech. That's burning damage. That sucks. We don't care about that. Warpipe Rough. That sucks as well. So this one kind of sucks for us. But let's just see how much, if it's even for sale. Okay, and this is also an annoying thing. I don't know how to preset this to Phoresia. Like, I haven't looked that much into it. Maybe there's a way to do it, but you gotta always go to Phoresia, and I would always suggest clicking any. So there is one 4 divs that's overpriced. It's probably overpriced because it has the crit protection on it, and people really like that stupid crit protection. So, I mean, crit protection is important. I'm gonna be working to my build, but all right, let me tell you how I'm gonna work crit protection in my build. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spend 4 skill points to give me extra charges, Calling Strike, which is 10% more damage, and I'm gonna get a mastery over here, and that mastery is gonna make me completely immune to crits, at least against monsters that are marked, and that's all really the monsters that I care about being immune to crits for. So that's a way to basically save yourself 100 divines, is you spend 4 skill points, and you can now call guys, and you get a bit more charges, and you're completely immune to crits. Not bad, okay? So let's go here. Let's search for more stuff. Go here, go trade. Go click here. We go Phoresia. We go any. Nothing. And then you go here and you go down the list. So I want this. Okay. So go trade. No. I mean, I guess I could search for it on Phoresia. Let's see. Phoresia, any. I'm guessing that I haven't looked at the other stats that it gives, but I'm guessing it's like a bunch of crit protection, maybe some double damage in there, who knows. All right, let's try this one. How much is this one? Phoresia. Nope. It was great doing this with my E-friend yesterday, because basically I started from the Akoya, and he started from Comb or whatever, and we like, so he started from the bottom of the list, and I started from the top of the list, and we kind of like worked our way, and we found like a really good one for 100C. So let's just try the 2-match ones. Nope. Here's a possible 2-match right here. So I'll go Phoresia. Any. Nothing. Okay. And this goes on for a while. Like, it's going to take a while to find what you want. And that's how you have to search for these. That's 2 divs. That's fine. It's up for 2 days. The guy was probably going to be willing to sell it for 1 div, okay? Because he ain't selling it for 2. And here's another one to check. Nine div. Nope. Again, if you're just getting these affixes and you're not getting double damage, you should definitely be able to get this for 1 div. Okay? Or less. There's a 7 div one, but anyways, it just takes time. There's a lot of different combinations to search. I don't know if I'll find a nice, that's 5 divs. And here's another one that you'll want to get as well. But again, the Intimidate and Melee, Rage on melee hit are the most important. But if you want to also fit a 3rd affix in that's important from your Lethal Pride, I would suggest double damage. And you know, these are normally more expensive, like I said. So instead of 1 div, you'll probably, like if you find a good one, you'll probably be paying like 5 div for it. The really expensive ones are really expensive, of course. And again, the plan here is to get at least 1 double damage, 1 Intimidate, and 1 Rage on melee hit. Like, this one is not going to be good. This one's not going to be good. All it has 4 stuff, right? You want a mix of all 3. So why are we looking for this? What's the purpose of this? Well, let's go back to there. It's to save skill points. So instead of putting a point here, it saves a skill point here, okay? And also it gives you Intimidate, it gives you a source of Intimidate. How I was getting Intimidate prior to this is it was a shield mastery, but I don't have any, because I'm not pathing to any shield masteries anymore. I can't get a skill point for it. Like it's not going to let me get the skill point here because I haven't bought all of these things up. And you know, I'm not, where was my old shield mastery? Like, is this shield mastery? So like his shield mastery is over here. You get it here. I think, is this shield? Here's a shield mastery as well. You can get it over here. There might be one other one I'm missing in the area, but that was the source of Intimidate I was using before, which is nice. Also, if you're using like a a cheapo belt and you're starting this build out, like a Belt Deceiver, that'll give you a source of Intimidate. That's 10% more damage. It's really nice. So, but that's why you're looking for Intimidate, because you can't get it easily anymore, and you want Rage on hit because it'll save you a skill point. Now, what I have in mind, and I showed this off in one of the videos, but I don't know if it was obvious to anyone, is I got melee critical strike, which is nice, totem placement, which is fine for this build, increased armor, which is nice, and then I have intimidate, which is, again, one of the necessary points. I have that chance of double damage. Let me talk about the reason why you want to fit at least one source of double damage in this build. And if you can fit more, that's great, but it's for big shocks, or big freezes, but it's mostly for big shocks. So, you crit, like this build basically, especially when I put this Watcher's Eye, I'll have a 100% chance to crit. What's going to happen is you will, you're going to shock enemies, and then sometimes you'll get that double damage, and that's a bigger shock. And so now, you shock them, and when you hit them, you do like 40% more damage, or they take 40% more damage instead of 20% more damage, or whatever. I'm just making some numbers up. But that's the idea behind getting a source of double damage, so you can get bigger shocks on the monsters, and that's nice. So that's why you're doing the double damage. And then fire resistance is also nice as well. Some of the brick ones that aren't useful are like burning damage and totem damage. Like those are not useful. I don't care about crit protection, although that's like a premium one people really like. So you don't have to worry about getting like a super expensive one to be crit protected on this build, because again, you're going to get your crit protection from this Mark Mastery, which is, where is it? I also like marked enemies cannot regenerate. That's also a nice one as well. So like if you feel really tanky, you can just get marked enemies cannot regenerate. That really fucks up some monsters. But it's, yeah, marked enemies cannot deal critical strikes. So that's what you're going to be getting eventually with this build. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else I should talk about. I remembered some stuff to talk about. People have asked me like what Flask automation I'm using. I don't use automated Flask, guys. So if you need automated Flasks, just play around with, the different, what are these things? I don't even know what they're called. Never even use them. What are they? These things. Enkindling orbs and instilling orbs. I don't know. Find whatever fix best works for you to automate your Flask. So of note, this is a warning. Although like my builds are, I really don't try to have bait builds. Like I really try to have relatively budget items that people can buy. Oh, speaking of, I just remembered something. So what should you do for your armor? What I did for my armor was this. I bought the cheapest Conquest Laminar, 6-link Laminar on the market. If you have money and you're not balling on a budget like Dabadoo, you can get one with a higher base armor and evasion. I would strongly recommend that. I got the cheapest one in the market, so my base is really low for armor and evasion. But if you can get like an 820 plus armor and evasion rating on your Conquest Laminar, that will pay dividends. But only do that if you can afford it. All right, so you get basically the cheapest Conquest Laminar that you can get. If you have extra money, you can get a fancier one. And then what you do is you just dump it in this thing. This is how I made mine. You just dump it in here and you spam defense or resistances or life on it, and you get a roll like this. When I was helping out my E-friend yesterday, I literally just alked it and I got a good enough roll. I'm like, all right, we're just going to use that. And then what you start doing is you slam Eldritch currency on it. So you slam these guys on it. This is very, very important. So you really want melee hits have a chance to fortify, especially once you move this build over to using an Admiral's Arrogance and you're no longer using your Tahu Ani gloves, because the Fortify will proc your Onslaught from your belt here. So you definitely want to have that. Now, if you get a slightly lower roll, you can, let's say you get 8% or 7% or whatever, you can always use Blessed Orbs on it to get a better roll on the Implicit. I have 9%. So I was using greater ones to try to grab that. But I think a lesser one gives you like 7 to 8 or just 7. That's what you're going to want to get. That's very, very important. In terms of the suffix here, probably the best suffix to get is increased effect of your auras. That's very nice because you have anger, you have level 27 anger, hatred, and wrath in this build from your elemental relics. You're not running that many auras here either beyond that. So, for example, is Flesh and Stone even an aura? I think Flesh and Stone is an aura, but your Tempest Shield is not an aura, and your Arctic Armor is not an aura, and your Herald of Ice is not an aura, okay? But your auras are your Smite Wrath aura from here, and again, all of the auras that you get from your Elemental Relics, and also your Flesh and Stone aura. Those are all auras, and so increased aura effect will help all of those. Also, Arctic Armor is nice as well. Arctic Armor is very strong. You know, from the gameplay footage, I'm usually just standing still and just slamming the boss. Like, so I'm usually just staying in place, slamming the boss for the most part, not like running around like with a chicken with her head cut off. And so you're standing in place. That means you're getting the benefit of Arctic Armor, and Arctic Armor is pretty strong. So that's also kind of a nice thing you can look for as well. That's what I would suggest. For the boots, you know, I played around with Sapped Ground, I played around with Brittle Ground, and it's a waste. Don't do it. That's only for PoB warriors, guys. I would suggest just get increased action speed. So why am I getting increased action speed? Because I'm rarely standing on a boss. I actually rarely stand on a boss, and if I'm like doing the Crucible or if I'm doing some encounter where I have to fight like 4 or 5 bosses at once, I'm rarely like jumping on a boss. I'm just kind of standing in a position where my Ancestral Call can hit like all 4 bosses or whatever at the same place. So like, say one's over here, one's over here, one's over here, one's over here. So if I stand like kind of in the middle, I can hit all of them. But if I'm over here on one, that means I might be too far away to hit the ones over here, okay? So don't use Brittle Ground, don't use Sap Ground, it's a trap. Use increased action speed. That just makes everything go 4% more faster. So that's what I would suggest, get increased action speed. Now, for the Eater of Worlds implicit, I actually think probably just straight up increased armor from your helmet and your gloves might be the best one to get, because that will, you know, you're not running Determination, you're not running Grace on this build, and you're trying to stack as much Armour Evasion as you can, not only because it's nice, because it protects you from the smaller hits from the little trash enemies, and your bigger hits, the protection really comes from your block, from your Flesh and Stone, and from your Arctic Armor. If you know anything about how armor scales and evasion scales in this game, for it to be effective against like the nasty bosses, you need a ton of it. And this build doesn't have a ton of it, but it has enough to protect yourself quite well against the trash mobs, and then against the mobs that matter, you have straight up damage reduction in Flesh and Stone and Arctic Armor, and 90% chance to block everything they throw at you. So that's nice. So that's the idea behind just trying to stack just flat armor and evasion. If you get that Devoto's Devotion, that has like a ton of armor and evasion baked into it already. Yeah, okay, let's talk about some more gearing choices. Let's talk about the amulet you're going to get. You're probably going to get an amulet like this. Again, you want to get at least one source of energy shield on this character. And so I found in the amulet, it could be on your ring or whatever. But you're going to want to get a critical strike multiplier and a fat stack of life and the resistances that you need on your amulet. If you need extra strength, you get strength or whatever attribute you need on your amulet. My old amulet has been up for sale for a very, very long time. And where is it? Right? No. I think it's on sale for like 100C. So this is the amulet that I was running for most of the life of the build. I can't remember how much I bought it for, but I have my old amulet that I was using before up for sale, and it's been up for sale for like over a week and hasn't sold. So you can get an amulet that's good for your build for less than 100C, because if this one hasn't sold, then yeah, you could probably buy one for 50 or whatever. So this is kind of something that you would start off on. If you want to pay like a little bit more, like let's say this is 100. This one I bought for like 1.5 or 1 div. I don't know, but this is the kind of amulet you're gonna want to get. Again, you want to get Safeguard as your anoint on there, not some ridiculously expensive anoint. Just get Safeguard, and that'll add a ton of effective EHP to your build, and it's like the best in slot anoint you can have once you've built the character out this far. One other thing I want to talk about, actually two other things I want to talk about are my Flask setups. I don't use automated Flask, like I said. I'm an ex-pro gamer, and maybe it's to like keep my twitch reflexes going, but for me, like I like, it's like driving a car. Like you drive a manual stick shift. It feels funner, and that's one of the reasons why I think I like using manual Flask. Of note, I have them on ASDF, and then I have G, and that's just where the fingers rest normally on the keyboard, so it's really easy for me just to like cycle them whenever I want, okay? And then if you need the life flash, which is used on demand, you press G on the keyboard and you can use it. I like having the tincture on A, so like I can just have, I don't use my pinky to hit it, so I can just use these three fingers to hit the flask, S, D, and F that I need, right? And then when I need G, I can use the index to hit G. So that if you want to try good old manual Flask, that is a keyboard setup that I recommend. Also, I have like all of my hotkeys on the key row above it, QWERT, right? So this is Molten Shell. Again, talking about Molten Shell, just to be clear, I'm using Vaal Molten Shell because I like to be able to cycle between Molten Shell and Vaal Molten Shell through maps and on bosses, and that basically makes it so I have nearly 100% uptime on my Molten Shell. And it's also way cheaper than getting a level 21 20 Vaal Smite. All right. Oh yeah, let's talk about cosmetics. I might as well just cover everything. So, my character's pretty fly, pretty fly for a white guy here. Looks like the God Emperor or something from Warhammer 40K. But let's talk about how I have this set up. I like seeing my face. I don't like a stupid helmet. So I have this harmonious helmet skin. You could just use, if you want to like see the, your pretty face, you can, use whatever. Here's Chaosborn helm. That's kind of cool. That kind of looks cool. But that's more of like a bad guy helm, something out of like a Rothschild party or something like that. There you get a cowboy hat. All right, let's put a cowboy hat on. It's a Dragon Boy. No, it's Korean God helmet. Whoa. All right, I like this. Good. That's more American. All right. The point is all right. So I have some type of skin where I can see my pretty face for the hat. I have this this halo here because you gotta look like God Emperor from Warhammer 40K. I have the Divine Paladin body armor. I bought the Paladin MTX. In one of my thumbnails, I actually showed off the concept art for it. I think that was like my first two video thumbnails that I came out with. And this is how it looks on the character. Right, let me actually go back to. I can't stand this cowboy hat. It's ruining my aesthetics, bro. I'll go back. I'll go to the Rothschild hat there. There you go. So there you go. I don't like gaudy, stupid wings. Although I've bought in a bunch of gaudy, stupid wings, and over the 10 plus years I've played this game, and I don't use them anymore. They're just too distracting for me. Maybe because I'm old. I don't know. But I just like low-key, stylish back attachments. So I have this cool assassin's cloak on. I got a ring. Let's see, a ring on this hand. You guys see it? I can barely even see it. It's right there. See my little ring? I don't know. When I level up, it looks cool. I got assassin's gloves. They look cool with the Paladin armor. They look a little better than the base like Paladin armor MTX. Although I bought the set. I got the Paladin boots on here. I got Lightbringer footprints. I got the Divine Judgement unique finisher effect. This is a fun one. So if you watch like my videos, when I'm killing the bosses, like these giant like orbital bombardments or lasers come down from the sky, that's where you get this. I'm using the Paladin weapon effect. And that's really cool because it puts like this cross on your shield. Let me check something. Do I still have it saved? Oh, I don't. Oh, that sucks. But I kind of like the look of this Flailvin, so I've just been using it. But if you can do a skin transfer with the Lion-Eyes shield, that's a really cool shield that works with the cross from the Paladin skin effect, and that'll just be a cool looking shield as well. So but I'm no longer using the skin transfer, and I'm showing off my fanciest item that I have in this build. Apparently these are on like 4 divs now, which is nice. I bought mine for 8 div. What else? Oh yeah, and I got the Imperium Apparition effect. So back in the day, I bought this expensive MTX pack I don't know, it was maybe like 200 something bucks, or whatever. But it was cool, and I got the fancy angel above my head, and I normally don't use any aspirations because they annoy me, but it's thematic for the video, so that's how you get like the little angel going the beginning of the video if you want that. I don't like gaudy portals, although I have some gaudy portals, like some really Imperium portals. So you know, this is my synthesis portal effect. It's nice, it's pretty. Also, I don't like a bunch of flashy shit on my character because it makes it hard for me to see things, and I'm kind of liking the, you know, less is more aesthetic going on. So I have a bunch of invisible buff effects on all of my stuff, like Tempest Shield. Like I like having Tempest Shield on and not having like, I like being able to see my cool cross, right? Here, Tempest Shield, right? So I have Tempest Shield on now. Let's take all this stuff off. Click, click, click. See, now it's all like, you got all these things going on, and anyways. So I like you know, making all of these effects kind of invisible, especially Tempest Shield. Also, other things that I have is I have the Harmonious Hydrosphere. So my Hydrospheres come out, they have this golden effect that's cool with the aesthetics of this character. I have the Divine Molten Shell, which I showed off already. Oh gosh, I can't stand this Tempest Shield here. Where is it? There, go away. There, okay, go. So here, let's zoom in here. This is there's the Molten Shell. Now, you know, you might not, for gameplay purposes, you might not want to use this because it'll make it harder to tell from a visual perspective if it's on or not. But I like it. I've grown accustomed to it. But the regular version of Molten Shell, if you take that MTX off, is easier to see. It stands out more, so you can tell if your Molten Shell's up or not, right? So that's more of a contrast for your character. But you know, it's up to you. I'm just kind of showing these different things off. What else? Divine Herald is a herald I'm using for my Herald of Ice. I'm using Herald of Ice over Herald of Fire because I like freezing things. Herald of Ash, it's called, not Herald of Fire. And I have the Divine effect on it. But there's some other cool effects that you can try as well, like the Sun Prism effect is nice. The Transcendent one is also pretty looking on Herald of Ice as well. And I have the Celestial Leap Slam, which I like. And so you notice when I'm leap slamming in the gameplay footage, like I kind of looks like almost like a teleport. And that's because of the Celestial Leap Slam effect. It actually just makes it easier for me to play the game. It's a nice effect. So that's what I have in the Leap Slam. All right, I think that covers everything. If it doesn't, oh gosh, I'm sorry. Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to me for like over an hour or however long this video is going to be. And yeah, I'll talk to you later. All right, bye now.